There is a Nigerian proverb that cautions the wise build bridges and the foolish build dams. Working among people whose actions defy logic, Dr. Chambas successfully builds bridges. He has negotiated with warlords. He has forged agreements with dictators. More importantly, he has fostered hope for civilian victims of wartime atrocities. Such was the case on August 1st, 2003 in war-torn Liberia. Shelling had subsided for the first time in 13 days. Civilians were starving, thirsty, and weathering a cholera outbreak brought on by poor sanitation. But on this day, they felt safe enough to scavenge for food. Peacekeeping troops were on the way, and Liberian President Charles Taylor had agreed to step down, pursuant to an agreement that Dr. Chambas helped negotiate. Dr. Chambas had worked closely with Liberia before, during its first civil war in the 1990s, but the atrocities in this new war had eclipsed worst-case scenarios: drug-addled child soldiers, illicit trade for guns, and mutilation of thousands of civilians. Yet government and rebel forces had agreed to a ceasefire. Now Dr. Chambas had to convince President Taylor to abide by the deal. An international criminal tribunal would eventually find Taylor guilty of trading diamonds for guns to support and guide a violent rebel movement that committed mass atrocities. Taylor was the first head of state to be convicted by an international court since the Nuremberg trials after World War II. Dr. Chambas now has his sights set on the Darfur region of Sudan, where tens of thousands have died from combat or starvation brought on by an ongoing civil war. As head of the African Union United Nations mission in Darfur and joint chief mediator, he will once again face warlords, national leaders, and a variety of other factions, and he will attempt to negotiate on behalf of those whose voices are silent. Dr. Chambas stands for African success stories, said one International Foundation leader. With his principle of African solutions for African problems, he represents a generation of modern, self-confident, and ambitious Africans who are the future of this proud and magnificent continent. Their confidence is well placed. It is my pleasure to introduce to you today your 2014 commencement speaker, Dr. Mohamed Ibn Chambas.
Thank you very much, President Barbara Snyder. Thank you for a job very well done. And congratulations, class of 2014. And before I go further, let me end the speculation about the excellent weather we're enjoying today. I confess, I brought some sunshine in my suitcase from Africa. Madam President, Commencement Day is a day of celebration, marking the end of an academic period of learning for the graduating class and simultaneously the beginning of a new surge of the young graduates into the great unexplored world and times ahead. For the graduating class, please be fully aware that the world and times ahead of you is not fully defined, and you must be determined and seized on making the best out of it. Yes, commencement is a time of rejoicing. It is a period to meditate quietly after the celebrations and figure out what next. It is paradoxically also a time of meeting as well as of parting. Obviously, some of the graduating class would relocate and search for new life outside Ohio, even outside the United States. For in today's globalized world, professional mobility knows no bounds. Count yourselves privileged, all of you graduating today, because the education you have acquired is providing you the power to seize the future and mold your destiny with no bounds globally. Since we are celebrating you and celebrating with you today, Madam President, please permit me to register my profound felicitations to the class of 2014. And let me also congratulate the families of the graduating class. It is equally polite for me to salute the professional commitment and dedication of the illuminating professors and support staff of this great university. I am of the opinion that education is a two-way process between the faculty and the students, and within a learning environment or ecosystem that is conducive to intellectual discourse. You've all worked very hard. You all deserve to be recognized individually and collectively. I'm sure all of us here gathered today are happy and proud of you, and we are glad to be witness of this great occasion. On a personal note, members of faculty, Madam President, let me express my profound appreciation for inviting me to be commencement speaker and for honoring me with the investiture of Doctorate of Laws honoris causa. To be recognized in this manner is gratifying. To be given such honors by one's alma mater is doubly so, and I'm deeply humbled and very privileged by this. A few decades ago, I graduated from Case with a JD from the law school. The holistic and world-class education I had in Case was a life-changing experience for me as a person and as a professional. I have no doubt that the same can be said for all of you graduating today. I'm also proud to note that our university is a world leader in innovation and research, in commitment to diversity, and in community service, in bridging the gap between town and gown. As I travel the world, it is always gratifying to meet Spartans everywhere, men and women that have distinguished themselves in business, industry, finance, government, science and research, diplomacy, and international relations. Again, returning back to the class of 2014, I say from experience and as an alumnus, yours is a great and noble heritage. Having worked so hard and having acquired honor, you've been invested with a degree certificate. However, it is important to always remember that a degree certificate is testifying to your having undergone academic training in a particular discipline. In today's highly competitive, globalized world, such a testimonial alone is no longer a guarantee of future success. Please let me share with you that some of the most important things in life are never taught within the walls of the academy. University syllabi do not directly teach you how to find your purpose in life, or how to choose your future spouse, or raise a family, or be a good citizen in your local or world community. Universities never teach you about the laws of success. Nevertheless, your education at Case has endowed you with the intellectualism and the critical thinking abilities for you to distinguishedly pursue your purpose, your interest, and happiness. Experientially, I must admit to you that after graduation, you will have to unlearn the dead weight of scholastic dogmas that have been bombarded into you by the finest professors you can find anywhere. Please be prepared on your own to use your education and analytical skills to learn, to adapt, and to succeed in the real world out there. With these tools, today begin to dream, focus, and actualize your promise. I urge all of you proud graduates of class of 2014 today to put on paper the 7 goals of your life for the coming 5 years. Your initial steps towards a successful life are to have clearly defined goals and to find your purpose. Be realistic, be creative, never limit yourself. Never underestimate your God-given powers, and let it be said of you, as it was said of Daniel of old, that, quote, an excellent spirit dwelt in him, end of quote. Know your destiny and be clear about your life's goals. Above all, learn to think for yourself. The greatest gift you have as human beings is the ability to think, and that has been fine-tuned here at Case. Yet, the British philosopher and mathematician Bertrand Russell famously noted that most people would sooner die than think. Please do not fall into that trap. You must always never forget that character is destiny. An African saying goes, wherever a man, and of course woman, goes to dwell, his or her character goes with him or her. This explains that a man or woman is defined by their character, and that essential character is inseparable and follows everyone wherever they go. And needless to say, humility goes hand in glove with character. The mark of the educated person is modesty. Modesty in the full Socratic awareness that we know so little about the vastness of this amazing universe of ours. Happily, we live in an age in which knowledge and information are spreading at the speed of light. What will therefore separate you from the common crowd is not the information you have, but your ability to think, to transform the information, to innovate, and to be original. British wartime Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill once declared that, quote, the empires of the future will be the empires of the mind, end of quote. Churchill meant that those who will command power and wealth in the future will be those who have mastery of science and innovation. Another important global trend is the spread of democratization around the world. The spread of democracy will lead to the abundance of peace, which in its turn will spread the benefits of liberty and prosperity across the world. Distinguished guests, permit me at this juncture to share with you future prospects of my home continent, Africa, in the emerging global economic and political order. Africa's population now stands at 1.1 billion and is expected to exceed China and India by 2013. The continent has the youngest population, and Africa is currently experiencing the most rapid growth of the middle class as a percentage of population. The past 5 years, 7 of the 10 fastest growing countries in the world have been from Africa. This will provide opportunities for business, industry, banking and finance, infrastructure, hotels, tourism, and services. I'm happy to report that Africa, too, is basking in the warmth of the new liberty, democracy, and good governance that are taking root and being consolidated in many of our countries. But some old habits die hard, and the Darfur crisis continues to pose a challenge to the international community. In my current role as Joint Special Representative and Joint Chief Mediator for the African Union and the United Nations, I know that when the global community chooses to act with resolve, catastrophes can be prevented. The UN has evolved the doctrine of international responsibility to protect, which has become a widely accepted normative framework for international humanitarian intervention in situations where state collapse, myopic megalomaniacs, or delusional fanatics cause mass killings and untold suffering to vulnerable civilian populations. It proved effective in Kosovo and the Balkans, and has also been equally successful in Darfur, in Liberia, as Madam President has cited, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, Central African Republic, South Sudan, the Sahel, and more recently in Nigeria, where the entire global community has been mobilized in solidarity with the parents of the innocent children who have been kidnapped by extremist Boko Haram. Darfur is not an easy mission. It is a region buffeted not only by ancient tribal hatreds, but also by the severe impact of climate change and deepening poverty in a region stricken by war, fratricidal violence, and poor governance. But through it all, we have learned that with the support of the international community, leadership and teamwork, we can make a difference, and that engaging with the various parties in conflict, acting as an honest and transparent broker, creates the confidence that will pave the way to a just and lasting peace. I make bold to say that peace is an indivisible global public good. Whatever our role, whatever our vocation, our bounden duty as global citizens is to work for peace, for a world governed less by hate, more by solidarity, justice, and hope. Madam President, distinguished faculty members, dear parents and friends, I would like to conclude my speech by requesting you all to join me in congratulating the class of 2014 and to wish them good luck and Godspeed in their future endeavors. I know many of you graduates are sitting there and beginning to wonder, so after all this pomp and pageantry, what does the future hold for me? Will I make it out there with all the daunting challenges Chambas has just talked about? Please let me leave you with the inspiring words of wisdom of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Quote, "Too many think it is impossible. Too many think it unreal. But that is a dangerous defeatist belief. Our problems are man-made. Therefore, they can be solved by man. And man can be as big as he wants. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings." My dear graduates, who have just become my fellow alumni, fare thee well, all the best to you, and I thank you all for your kind attention.